Across the stars, dominance wasn't just taken, it was assumed. The galactic dominion had ruled the known sectors for millennia, its grip forged not through innovation, but standardization. Every species fell into line, eventually. Resistance wasn't admirable, it was irrelevant. Every new world encountered was measured, catalogued, and placed accordingly on the tech gradient, a scale designed by the Dominion itself. Earth didn't even register as a threat. Its weapon systems were laughed at in high chambers. Gunpowder, metals, combustion. No graviton beams, no energy shields, not even primitive antimatter. Their most powerful assets were kinetic sticks launched on outdated rockets. In the Council's judgment, Earth wasn't a civilization, it was a relic. The assignment was simple. A mid-class cruiser, unmanned save for a command unit of advisors and sentient AI, was dispatched. It had neutralized 6 rebellious moons in the past month. Earth would be no different. The fleet commander labeled the mission, "Low risk, zero gain." A mere show of force to remind primitives of their place. Their cultural assessment concluded humans responded best to spectacle, so they chose a flyby approach, drop into orbit, deliver demands, display firepower, and leave with fealty. Any resistance would be crushed before it formed. The cruiser arrived with no stealth. It didn't need it. From its vantage over the planet, it beamed a wide-spectrum ultimatum. Surrender, integrate, and comply. The message was broadcast in every frequency Earth might hear, translated, adjusted, even dumbed down for linguistic clarity. Earth's lack of response was taken as hesitation. The ship maintained orbit, scanned military installations, and found what they expected: nothing dangerous. No fusion cores, no planetary defense grid, no hyperspatial anomalies. Their AI deemed Earth technologically stagnant, the lowest combat rating in galactic metrics. The commander suggested Earth be marked for cultural sterilization and economic extraction. What unsettled them, though no one said it aloud, was the stillness. Earth didn't respond. No broadcasts, no pleas, no declarations. Just silence. Their satellites continued to orbit. Civilian life on the surface continued. No alarms, no evacuations, no visible mobilization. The Dominion had encountered angry species, fearful ones, desperate ones. But Earth did nothing. It unnerved the junior strategists. This wasn't fear. It was something else. Internal debates surfaced in the command corps. Some argued Earth was unaware of the danger, others that humans lacked unified governance. Still others thought they were too primitive to comprehend what hovered above them. But the senior analyst, older than most star empires, noted something different. Earth's history was not of linear growth, but exponential leap. Centuries of stagnation followed by eruptions of invention. An unpredictable curve. They feared what they couldn't graph. Satellite feeds from Earth's surface began to blink. One by one, stations dropped offline. Not jammed, intentionally shut down. Optical relays scrambled. Their sensors detected power flux beneath the crust. Something buried. Something charging. Heat maps suggested subterranean installations activating. But there were no energy signatures, no fusion fields, no plasma grids. Just cold, mechanical motion. Calculated. Focused. Invisible on galactic scales. The cruiser elevated its orbit slightly. Just a precaution. Its shields were fully charged. Weapons hot. Its doctrine clear: if Earth refused to submit, a single city would be atomized to demonstrate futility. A routine procedure. They'd done it dozens of times. The command AI readied the orbital cannons, plotted impact trajectories. They'd destroy a military center. Precise. Minimal casualties. Efficient compliance. Still, Earth remained silent. Their data feeds dead. Their skies calm. It felt deliberate. The kind of quiet that wasn't passive, but patient. As if they were waiting for something. Then, from the far side of the planet, something moved. One object. Small. Fast. No transmission, no thermal bloom. Not a missile by galactic standards. Just a sliver of metal, moving impossibly fast. The cruiser's targeting systems dismissed it as debris. It wasn't. The object pierced the upper atmosphere with no warning. No burn signature. No engine trail. Just speed, raw, uncompromising, silent. The cruiser's sensors logged it late, far too late. It traveled faster than anticipated limits. Impact occurred within seconds of detection. It struck the underside of the Dominion vessel, puncturing layered armor with no resistance. There was no explosion, no grand detonation, just a single, sharp kinetic transfer that tore through 7 decks in a straight line and exited through the opposite hull. Inside, systems screamed in contradiction. Pressure dropped across compartments. Structural integrity failed. The ship's reactor core, isolated but now exposed, initiated emergency shutdown. Coolant systems failed to activate. Containment field flickered, destabilized, collapsed. The fusion heart collapsed inward. The blast wasn't fire or plasma. It was implosion. A silent, crushing void that shredded the internal compartments before the outer hull caught up. What had once been a kilometer-long warship was reduced to expanding debris and vapor trails in under 4 seconds. No time to launch countermeasures. No orders transmitted. No distress signal. Just sudden absence. Orbital sensors recorded nothing else inbound. Just the one object. Debris rained down in low orbit, but Earth remained untouched. Civilian networks continued operating as if nothing had happened. No commentary. No acknowledgement. Global broadcasts stayed silent. The Dominion's nearest observation post, 12 light minutes away, recorded the ship's disappearance and immediately dispatched a recon probe. When it arrived, only trace fragments floated. Data retrieval found partial logs, targeting failure, sudden projectile, catastrophic core breach. Reconstruction algorithms traced the weapon's characteristics: a dense, unpowered metallic rod. No guidance. No propulsion. Just mass and acceleration. Further analysis revealed impossible targeting accuracy. The projectile had struck a vulnerability point less than 2 meters wide from thousands of kilometers away. Not chance. Not error. Design. Aimed, calculated, executed. Theories flooded the Council's think tanks. Hypotheses ranged from magnetic acceleration to gravitational slingshot to orbital bombardment. But none explained how Earth, a planet with no known advanced targeting systems, delivered a shot with that precision. Every known model failed to simulate it. They discovered that the weapon had no electronics, no traceable emissions, nothing that standard defense arrays were designed to detect. It bypassed every layer of shield logic because those shields filtered for energy-based threats. This object, moving at hypersonic velocity, didn't glow or radiate. It simply moved. Faster than sensors could flag. Invisible by design. What disturbed the analysts more than the attack itself was the lack of follow-up. Earth issued no message. No threat. No demand. No political contact. Not a single broadcast. No celebration. No victory parade. Just stillness. The cruiser had died, and Earth had gone back to silence. A pattern emerged. Earth had no interest in spectacle. It didn't posture. It didn't respond with diplomacy or bravado. It acted once, decisively, with surgical precision, then vanished from the dialogue. The impact wasn't just physical, it was psychological. Dominion command structures began reevaluating threat models, rewriting protocols that had stood unchallenged for centuries. New doctrines were proposed. Energy supremacy was no longer absolute. Kinetic possibilities had to be reconsidered. The arrogance surrounding energy shields and power-based defense systems began to fracture. Entire engineering divisions were tasked with conceptualizing new forms of armor and early warning systems that could respond to velocity rather than emission. Within days, 6 Dominion vessels were pulled from patrol routes near human space. Civilian colonies began restricting flights into Sol's outer zones. Merchant ships changed routes. Military analysts debated the possibility that Earth had hundreds of these weapons, waiting quietly in silos or buried in orbit, never powered on, never advertised, just dormant, waiting. The conclusion was unsettling. Earth hadn't defended itself with overwhelming force or advanced technology. It hadn't mirrored the galaxy's arms race. It had sidestepped it entirely. It had refined a method no longer considered valid by galactic doctrine and made it lethal beyond measure. The silence that followed the destruction was interpreted not as restraint, but intent. Earth had proven capability. And then, instead of boasting, it disappeared behind its own walls again. No terms offered. No retaliation threatened. Just one shot, and quiet. That quiet was deafening. Across Dominion space, the cruiser's loss was processed in fragmented silence. At first, it was assumed to be a malfunction, maybe reactor instability or rogue sabotage. But as telemetry fragments were recovered and reassembled, clarity replaced assumption. The projectile's data signature was undeniable. A solid mass, compact and dense, accelerated beyond known safety thresholds. No chemical fuel, no fusion drive, no steering mechanism. It simply existed in motion, unstoppable, unreactive, and intentional. The kinetic impact bypassed every defensive measure because none were built for such a threat. Modern shielding was optimized for plasma dispersal, energy redirection, or high-frequency absorption. None of those systems reacted to a non-radiating tungsten rod moving at escape velocity. The cruiser hadn't been overpowered. It had been outthought. Across tactical forums, doctrines collapsed. Officers questioned their assumptions. In internal Dominion circles, analysts began reclassifying Earth's military tier. The initial designation of Primitive Level 0 was withdrawn. A new category was suggested: Asymmetrical Kinetic Response Civilization. It required a full rewrite of engagement protocols, because Earth hadn't just launched a projectile, it had eliminated a strategic asset with no warning, no cost, and no retaliation. Further analysis of the impact geometry revealed absurd precision. The rod had struck within centimeters of the core's magnetic stabilizers, the weakest internal point of the vessel. The odds of that being random were discarded. The targeting computation had to factor for orbital drift, atmospheric distortion, ship shielding frequency, rotational orientation, and gravitational interference. Not only did Earth solve that equation, they delivered the result without detection. Speculation shifted to how. Earth had no public record of an active space fleet. No known AI capable of such calculation. Yet they had mapped a moving warship across open space and connected a single shot flawlessly. It suggested surveillance capabilities well beyond Dominion scanning. Somewhere, Earth had eyes in orbit the Dominion never noticed. Their satellite networks were primitive by appearance, but deeper scans revealed abnormal power readings. Some operated on frequencies that didn't align with communication or imaging. It became clear these devices weren't broadcasting, they were listening. Waiting. Tracking trajectories with passive systems immune to jamming or interference. What followed wasn't outrage, it was fear. Empires with fleets stationed near Earth's arm of the galaxy pulled back. Patrols rerouted. Transit zones expanded to avoid Sol entirely. No official directive was issued, but the behavior was unmistakable. Avoid provocation. Treat Earth not as weak, but unknowable. Civilian populations across the Dominion caught wind of the incident. Leaks from military briefings spread through data webs. A singular phrase emerged from the internal analysis and went viral in hours. One shot. No second. It became a warning, a meme, and a prophecy all at once. For the first time in recorded memory, Dominion military contractors were instructed to reverse engineer kinetic defense systems. Energy absorption was no longer enough. Hulls would need to withstand physical force, an idea abandoned centuries prior. Entire research divisions were restructured to study archaic ballistic models. But nothing could recreate what Earth had done. The weapon wasn't impressive because it was new. It was terrifying because it was old and perfect. A tungsten rod, launched from silence, untraceable, unstoppable, devastating. No emissions to detect, no signals to intercept. A weapon that couldn't be blocked, only avoided, if noticed in time. Dominion war colleges began teaching Event So-1 as a case study in strategic humility. Generals debated how many more rods Earth possessed. Whether they had dozens buried underground, thousands in orbit, or just that one, because one was enough. More terrifying than the shot was what followed: nothing. No political message. No declaration. No speech. Earth didn't claim victory. It didn't broadcast demands. It didn't appear on any diplomatic channels. It simply removed the threat and vanished behind its silence. That absence of noise did more damage than any war. Across the Dominion, the ripple effects didn't slow, they intensified. Systems that once mocked Earth began issuing quiet alerts to vessels entering human-adjacent space. Transit protocols were rewritten. Diplomatic outposts received silent evacuations. There was no treaty, no war declaration, no signal, only fear. Earth hadn't made a move since the destruction of the cruiser, but that was the problem. No retaliation meant no pattern. No claim meant no motivation. No communication meant no leverage. That uncertainty rewired everything. Military think tanks flooded with requests to model future Earth scenarios. None could deliver a confident outcome. Simulations collapsed under their own assumptions. Most predicted losses within the first engagement hour, not because Earth outgunned the Dominion, but because it aimed with finality. When Earth responded, it didn't escalate. It ended. Once. Completely. Then it returned to silence. In response, elite war councils convened in secret to consider preemptive action. But the risk outweighed the benefit. One confirmed strike had eliminated a capital cruiser with no known countermeasure. A second strike, if it came, might not stop at orbit. It might target infrastructure, planetary command nodes, or economic centers. And if that strike came silently again, no one would see it until it arrived. The cruiser's black box had been heavily encrypted, but what survived confirmed the projectile was unpowered, unguided after release, and impossible to track. That changed everything. Hundreds of years of weapon development had revolved around visible power, heat, energy, radiation. Earth didn't participate in that race. It moved sideways, avoided the arms competition entirely, and instead perfected invisibility through simplicity. In a galaxy obsessed with light, Earth used shadows. Diplomatic councils attempted to reach out. Official envoys prepared messages of respect, cooperation, apology, anything that might spark response. Earth ignored them all. Not through arrogance, but through absence. There was no known central authority to contact, no planetary defense representative, no ambassadorial structure recognized on galactic channels. Earth's silence became the loudest threat in recorded history. In the meantime, fragments of human history began circulating through Dominion archives. Earth's wars, tactics, doctrines, once considered primitive, were now studied obsessively. Analysts discovered that humans rarely fought fair, never led with their full capacity, and had a legacy of using minimum force to deliver maximum outcome. Concepts like deterrence, overwhelming response, and first strike obliteration weren't occasional strategies, they were cultural norms. Earth's military evolution was built not on superiority, but inevitability. They didn't fight for ground. They ended the fight before it began. The realization grew darker. If humanity had chosen to reveal this weapon only now, then what else remained hidden? What other systems, platforms, or methods existed behind their closed networks? They hadn't shared blueprints, issued threats, or even acknowledged the strike. Earth had demonstrated capability without signaling intent. Galactic media, once dismissive, turned feverish. Debates broke out across communication grids. Some called Earth a rising empire, others a silent guardian, a few labeled it an anomaly that didn't fit any known classification. One phrase emerged repeatedly: calculated neutrality. Earth didn't posture because it didn't need to. It had already won its point with a single act. Naval doctrine across the galaxy began to shift. Shield manufacturers faced immediate demands for reconfiguration. Kinetic armor became a sudden priority. Energy-based tactics, long held as dominant, were rebalanced to include impact analysis. Fleets pulled back from long-standing positions. Training protocols emphasized detection of unpowered threats. But deep down, everyone knew retrofitting couldn't fix the core issue. Earth struck before the game even started. No one could predict whether the humans would fire again. That mystery forced restraint. The galaxy learned to whisper around Earth. It wasn't submission, it was acknowledgement. Earth didn't raise its voice, because it didn't have to. It only ever needed to speak once. Dominion leadership gathered behind sealed chambers, demanding clarity, but none came. Intelligence branches delivered daily reports filled with speculation, yet absent of conclusions. Earth's silence persisted, and with it, unease hardened into doctrine. Entire civilizations recalibrated their stance, not through defeat, but the implications of restraint. Earth had proven it could destroy without warning, yet chose not to escalate. That alone destabilized centuries of assumptions. What terrified strategists most wasn't the weapon, it was the decision not to follow it with conquest. No orbiting fleet appeared. No message claimed dominance. No infrastructure moved to capitalize on the destroyed cruiser. Earth didn't exploit victory, it returned to routine. That restraint redefined the equation. If the humans weren't acting out of desperation or bravado, then what guided them? Intent without ambition, power without appetite, precision without pride, this was a new category of threat. Archived human documents were pulled from cultural repositories. Analysts dissected Earth's defense patterns. Historical precedents revealed consistent themes: minimal engagement, disproportionate response, and a preference for avoiding conflict until provoked. War was never a goal, it was a consequence. Humanity fought when choices were removed, then did so with terminal precision. They didn't require approval, alliances, or support. They required only necessity. The incident was officially classified across Dominion sectors as an unresolved anomaly, but no one accepted that label. The cruiser hadn't vanished due to error or external influence. It was removed, surgically, flawlessly, intentionally. Yet Earth offered no justification, as though the action required none. The absence of a political statement became the message. It meant they owed nothing to the systems that had dismissed them. Several minor powers attempted indirect outreach. Trade envoys, cultural liaisons, exploratory emissaries, all were met with silence or redirection. Earth had no interest in diplomatic theater. Their participation in galactic order was minimal by design. No declarations, no ideologies, just silent preparation. They had built their defenses in obscurity, and unveiled them only when necessary. From that moment on, human unpredictability became a standing clause in military doctrine. All Dominion scenarios involving Sol were marked high risk, not because of known assets, but unknown limits. Earth had demonstrated capability beyond current metrics, but offered no full display. That created a vacuum no model could predict. The question wasn't what humans could do, it was what they hadn't revealed yet. Some believed Earth's silence was a bluff, a singular act exaggerated by fear. But that theory died when no signals followed the strike. Bluffing requires audience manipulation, and Earth had no audience. They hadn't struck to impress, warn, or deter. They struck because it was efficient. Clean. Complete. What grew from the debris wasn't just caution, it was reverence. In military forums, Earth's action became case zero for strategic certainty through minimalism. Entire lectures focused on the precision of an action, the discipline of not responding beyond the required threshold. Cadets studied not just the strike, but the aftermath, how stillness could be louder than power displays. Earth had authored a new kind of warfare. Years later, the incident remained unchallenged. No further engagements occurred. No new weapons were shown. Earth remained quiet, focused inward, unmoved by galactic shifts. That consistency elevated their threat profile. They weren't reactionary, they were prepared. Never first to fire, but always first to end it. When faced with the unknown, Empires often chose to conquer. But Earth chose patience. It didn't declare dominance, it behaved as if it already had it. That confidence, forged without noise, rewrote how power was recognized. In the end, the Dominion learned the truth that couldn't be measured in heat signatures or fleet sizes. Humanity didn't escalate, posture, or explain. They didn't need to. One shot, one silence, and the galaxy understood.